It's not revenge. It's justice.
I'm sitting here at 3 a.m. still processing everything that went down over the past few months. My hands are shaking as I type this, but I need to get it out. This is the story of how my wife tried to ruin my life, and how I turned the tables on her using the same skills that made her fall for me in the first place. My name's Jake Mitchell, I'm 42, and I run a corporate security firm in Chicago. I spent 12 years in Army intelligence before starting Mitchell Security Consulting back in 2013 with $50,000 in savings and a laptop. The business does well now, around $2.3 million in annual revenue. We help companies protect their data and executives from threats. Basically, I get paid to think like criminals and stop them before they strike. Businesses pay serious money for someone who understands how the bad guys operate. 8 years ago, I met Lisa Morgan at a fundraiser for a children's hospital. She was 28, I was 34. She was stunning, with red hair and this confidence that made every guy in the room notice her. She worked in real estate development, specializing in luxury downtown condos. But what really set her apart was her background. She came from serious money. Her dad, David Morgan, is a U.S. senator. Her mom, Helen Morgan, is a federal judge. They raised her in a $3 million house in Lincoln Park, sent her to private schools her entire life. She was used to having the best of everything. Our first date cost me $300 at one of Chicago's fanciest restaurants. Lisa ordered the most expensive wine without even looking at the prices. Should have been a warning sign, but I was too smitten to notice. We moved fast. After 6 months, she was staying at my apartment most nights. A year in, I proposed with a 3-carat ring that cost $18,000, basically 2 months of my salary at the time. The wedding was everything Lisa wanted. 200 guests, open bar, 7 courses, total cost of $85,000. I paid for all of it. The first few years felt like winning the lottery. My business was growing fast. Lisa was making good money selling high-end condos. We bought a 4-bedroom house in Lincoln Park for $1.2 million, had 2 BMWs in the driveway, took European vacations twice a year. Lisa loved the lifestyle my success provided. Designer clothes, $3,000 shopping trips without thinking twice, first-class flights everywhere, dinners where entrees cost $60 each. She'd tell her friends how successful her husband was, how hard I worked to give her everything she wanted. By 2016, I was pulling in serious money. Mitchell Security had 12 employees and major corporate contracts. Lisa said she was ready for kids. Tyler was born March 15th, 2016 at 3:22 a.m., 7 pounds 4 ounces. He screamed so loud the nurses next door could hear him. Madison followed 12 minutes later, 6 pounds 11 ounces. So quiet we worried something was wrong. Both were perfect, and they changed everything for me. I started working even longer hours, taking on bigger clients, pushing myself harder than I ever did in the Army. Every contract, every late night was for their future. I wanted to build something that would give them every opportunity. Lisa seemed to understand. She'd bring me coffee during late office sessions, massage my shoulders when cases stressed me out, brag to her mom friends about how hard I worked for our family. But in 2018, things started to change. Lisa would have phone conversations that stopped abruptly when I walked into rooms. She started going to social events without me, charity dinners, industry parties. When I asked why I wasn't invited, she'd say I was always too busy with work anyway. That's when Ryan Parker appeared in our lives. Lisa introduced him as a business partner. The guy was 35, divorced, no kids. He drove a black BMW M5, wore $2,000 suits, had this easy charm where he could walk into any room and have everyone listening within 10 minutes. Lisa explained that Ryan had commercial real estate connections that would help her expansion plans. They were partnering on some big downtown development project. She'd spend hours at his office working on strategy, come home talking about how brilliant he was. Here's where I made my biggest mistake. I liked Ryan immediately. He'd come over for dinner every few weeks, bringing expensive wine, bottles that cost $100 or more. He had gifts for Tyler and Emma, toys and books and stuffed animals. The kids loved him. After dinner, Ryan and I would sit in my living room drinking whiskey, talking sports, politics, business strategy. He seemed genuinely interested in my work, asked intelligent questions about corporate security, expressed real admiration for my military service. What I didn't realize was that every conversation was intelligence gathering. Every question about my business was him learning how to destroy it. Every compliment was him studying my weaknesses, figuring out how to exploit my trust. He was running a long-term operation, and I was the target. By 2019, Lisa's attitude toward me had completely changed. Everything I did annoyed her. How I loaded the dishwasher, the hours I worked, how I disciplined the kids, all of it became sources of constant arguments. She'd say things during fights like, "The children need their father present," and "Money isn't everything, Jake. Family should come first." The irony made me furious. I was working 70-hour weeks specifically for my family. Every contract, every client, every late night was so Lisa and the kids could live in our beautiful house, so the twins could attend Chicago's best private school, so Lisa could maintain the wealthy lifestyle she'd grown up with. But here's the thing that really got me. Even while criticizing my work schedule, Lisa never once suggested we cut expenses. She still wanted the designer clothes that cost more than most people's monthly rent, still wanted luxury vacations to Tuscany and the French Riviera, still wanted expensive dinners where wine bottles cost $200. She wanted the lifestyle my work provided, but resented me for providing it. Meanwhile, Ryan became a permanent fixture in our lives. He'd show up on Saturday mornings with fancy coffee and bagels. He'd stay for Tyler's soccer games and Emma's dance recitals. He'd help put the kids to bed when he was over for dinner, reading them stories in funny voices that made them giggle. And I kept telling him things I shouldn't have. Details about my biggest clients, which companies were worried about data breaches, which executives needed protection. Our family finances, how much we had in savings, our investment accounts, our life insurance policies. I thought I was talking to a friend. I was actually giving intelligence to an enemy who was planning to destroy my life. The breaking point came in February 2020. I'd just gotten back from a week-long job in Seattle. A tech company had a major data breach and needed immediate damage control. The client paid me $75,000 for 7 days of work. I was exhausted but excited to spend quality time with my family. Instead, I walked into a house full of strangers. Lisa barely looked up from her laptop, just said, "Oh, you're back," like I was the mailman or something. Tyler and Emma, who usually came running and screaming, "Daddy's home," after my trips, seemed shy and hesitant. When I asked what was wrong, Lisa said something that hit me like a punch to the gut. "They're not used to you being here anymore. You've become a stranger in your own home." That night, lying next to a woman who felt more distant than when we were dating, I made a decision. I was going to figure out what was happening to my family and fix it. The investigation started small. 12 years of military intelligence teaches you not to jump to conclusions. You gather data, analyze patterns, build complete pictures before taking action. I started with Lisa's laptop, a MacBook Pro she used for work but left open in the kitchen while making coffee or getting the kids ready for school. I had about 10 minutes most mornings while she was getting dressed upstairs. Here's what most people don't understand about deleted files. They're never really gone. When you delete something, the computer just marks that space as available for new data. Until something overwrites it, everything stays exactly where it was. Lisa would clear her browser history and empty the trash, but she didn't know about shadow files and cache systems. The recovery took me exactly 3 hours and 17 minutes to rebuild her entire digital footprint from the past 8 months. What I found made me physically sick. The romantic stuff had started in June 2019. Text messages between Lisa and Ryan that began as business discussions but quickly became personal. They were meeting for lunches that lasted 3 hours. Lisa was sending him photos wearing lingerie I'd bought for her, posed in our bedroom while I was traveling for work. But the affair was just the surface layer. Underneath was a detailed, sophisticated plan to systematically destroy every aspect of my life. Lisa and Ryan had been plotting for months. Their strategy was calculated and vicious. They planned to claim I'd used my security equipment to illegally spy on business competitors, which would destroy my professional reputation and open me up to lawsuits that would bankrupt Mitchell Security. They'd argue I was psychologically unstable, obsessed with surveillance and control, potentially dangerous to my family. Lisa's mother, Judge Helen Morgan, would help ensure the custody battle went their way. Her father, Senator David Morgan, had connections throughout Chicago's legal and business communities who could blacklist me from future contracts. The most damaging document I found was a draft custody petition Lisa had been working on with her divorce attorney, a guy named Lawrence Sterling. She painted me as an emotionally distant workaholic who had abandoned his family responsibilities while pursuing financial gain. She claimed the children were actually afraid of me, of my unpredictable behavior and excessive need for control. The petition suggested I might be dangerous, noting my extensive military training and access to surveillance equipment that could be used to intimidate or damage family members. Every single word was calculated to destroy me. Every lie was crafted to seem believable to judges who didn't know me. Lisa and Ryan had spent months building a case that would give them everything I'd worked for, while ensuring I'd never be able to rebuild my life or business. But there was something else in those files that caught my attention. A reference to a sealed 2011 court case involving the Morgan family. Something about a traffic accident that had been handled discreetly through family connections. That's when I realized I wasn't playing defense anymore. I was going on offense. The next phase required all my military intelligence skills, techniques I'd honestly hoped I'd never have to use against people I loved. I began systematic surveillance of Lisa and Ryan, documenting their movements, communications, and financial activities. Installing surveillance equipment in my own house felt surreal, but it was necessary. I used company equipment, tiny cameras hidden in smoke detectors and picture frames, audio devices smaller than quarters placed in Lisa's purse and car. I put a GPS tracker on that $15,000 diamond bracelet Ryan had given her. 2 weeks later, I found out he'd bought it using $23,000 stolen from our joint account. Within a month, I had everything I needed. High-definition video of Lisa and Ryan in hotel rooms at the Ritz-Carlton, the Four Seasons, the Peninsula. Audio recordings of them discussing their specific plans to destroy me, including the exact lies they'd tell in court and how they'd divide up my assets after the divorce. The most painful recording was from the Ritz-Carlton downtown, room 2847. Lisa was wearing that diamond bracelet. I heard her laugh and say my kids barely knew me anymore. Ryan responded that after the divorce, they'd make sure Tyler and Emma understood that Daddy was never really there for them. Lisa nodded and said, "We'll make sure they see the truth." Listening to that made me want to break things. These people were planning to poison my children against me using lies and manipulation. The most valuable intelligence came from Ryan's phone. Like most criminals, he'd gotten arrogant and careless about his own security. His password was his birthday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. Should have been my first clue about his narcissism. Once I accessed his device, I discovered the true scope of their financial planning. Ryan had opened 3 offshore accounts, 2 in the Cayman Islands and 1 in Switzerland. Over the past 6 months, he'd been systematically transferring money from various sources. The total was staggering, $340,000. This included money from our joint investment accounts, profits from Lisa's business ventures, and even a loan he'd taken out using our house as collateral without telling me. But here's the kicker. Ryan had also booked a one-way first-class ticket to Monaco for March 15th, exactly 2 weeks after Lisa was planning to file divorce papers. His plan was crystal clear. Let Lisa destroy me in court and take half my money, then disappear with his stolen nest egg while she stayed behind playing the wounded ex-wife. This wasn't just betrayal. This was organized theft on a massive scale. And Ryan was planning to screw over Lisa just as much as he was screwing me. My investigation into the Morgan family's buried secrets took 3 weeks, but it proved to be the most valuable intelligence I'd ever gathered. That sealed 2011 court case involved Lisa's younger brother, Brandon Morgan, and what I uncovered was absolutely horrific. Brandon had eliminated an entire family while driving drunk. The victims were Maria Martinez, 34 years old, a nurse at Children's Memorial Hospital. Her husband, Carlos Martinez, 36, worked in construction. Their daughters were Isabella, 8, and Sophia, 5. They were driving home from Sophia's birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese when Brandon Morgan, drunk out of his mind and driving his father's Mercedes at 70 miles per hour in a 35 zone, ran a red light and slammed into their Honda Civic. All 4 members of the Martinez family died instantly. Brandon walked away with nothing but a bruised rib. Judge Helen Morgan had made absolutely sure her son never faced real consequences for murdering 4 innocent people. Evidence was suppressed. Witnesses were intimidated into changing their stories. The prosecutor was somehow convinced to accept a plea deal that sent Brandon to a private rehab facility for 6 months instead of prison for vehicular manslaughter. Senator David Morgan made strategic campaign contributions totaling $150,000 to the district attorney's re-election fund, essentially buying his son's freedom. For 12 years, the Martinez family's extended relatives had tried to get justice. Every lawyer they consulted told them the case was hopeless because all the evidence was sealed and the Morgan family had too much political influence. Nobody would touch it. I spent 3 weeks verifying every single detail, cross-referencing court documents with financial records, tracking down witnesses who'd been paid to stay quiet, documenting every piece of corruption. By the end, I had assembled ironclad proof that the Morgan family had corrupted the justice system to protect a butcher. Now, I had the leverage to destroy them all, but I made a strategic decision. I was going to let Lisa and Ryan make their move first. I wanted to see exactly how far they were willing to go, wanted them to commit fully to their plan before I revealed what I knew. The call came on a Tuesday morning in early March. Lawrence Sterling, Lisa's attorney, his voice absolutely dripping with arrogance. "Mr. Mitchell, I believe it's in everyone's best interest if we could meet to discuss your wife's petition. Certain matters are far better resolved privately rather than through messy public litigation." Sterling's office was on the 47th floor of the Willis Tower. Everything was mahogany furniture and leather-bound law books. The walls were covered with awards for aggressive family law representation. This guy clearly made an excellent living destroying husbands. He sat behind his massive desk like a king on his throne and slid a thick folder across the polished surface toward me. "These are Mrs. Mitchell's terms. Sign these documents and you can avoid a court battle that you are absolutely guaranteed to lose." I opened the folder and read through the demands. Lisa wanted full custody of Tyler and Emma, with me allowed only supervised visitation 1 weekend per month. She wanted our house. She wanted both BMWs. She wanted 60% of Mitchell Securities' assets, which would be about $1.4 million. And she wanted alimony of $8,000 per month for the next 15 years. The total package would leave me essentially broke and barely able to see my own children. Sterling leaned back in his leather chair, clearly enjoying what he assumed was my shock and despair. "Mrs. Mitchell has substantial evidence of your inappropriate behavior, Mr. Mitchell. The surveillance equipment, your obsession with control, your emotional absence from your children's lives, your military background and knowledge of interrogation techniques combined with your business and security suggest possible psychological instability." He paused for dramatic effect, really savoring the moment. "Judge Helen Morgan has already reviewed the preliminary evidence and indicated she would look very favorably upon Mrs. Mitchell's petition. Now, Judge Morgan is, of course, highly respected in the federal judiciary, known for her impeccable record of fairness and integrity. She'll naturally recuse herself from any official proceedings, but her preliminary assessment carries significant weight with her colleagues throughout the entire circuit." I closed the folder and just stared at Sterling for a long moment. Then I reached into my briefcase, pulled out a manila envelope, and placed it carefully on his desk. "Give this to your client. Tell her to read it very, very carefully before she decides how aggressive she wants to be in this matter." Sterling frowned. He wasn't accustomed to being dismissed so easily. "What exactly is this, Mr. Mitchell?" "Just deliver it, Lawrence. Oh, and you might want to start looking for a new client. You're going to need one pretty soon." The envelope contained everything. High-resolution photos of Lisa and Ryan in various hotel rooms, clearly in compromising positions. Printed copies of text messages where they discussed their detailed plans to destroy me. Bank statements showing the money they'd stolen from our accounts. Financial records proving Ryan's offshore theft schemes. And most importantly, the complete investigative file on the Martinez case, including new evidence that could finally bring Brandon Morgan to justice and completely destroy the Morgan family's carefully constructed public image. The first phone call came exactly 6 hours later. Lisa, her voice shaking with a mixture of rage and absolute terror. "Jake, we need to talk right now, right this second." "No, Lisa, everything I have to say to you is in that envelope." "You don't understand what you're doing. My family has connections throughout this entire city. They can destroy you in ways you can't even begin to imagine. Your family has secrets, Lisa. Dark, ugly secrets that they've spent the last 12 years hiding and covering up, and now I have all of them. Every single one. You're bluffing. You're just trying to scare me." "Am I? Why don't you ask your mother about Maria Martinez, about Carlos Martinez, about 8-year-old Isabella and 5-year-old Sophia? Ask her exactly how much money it cost your father to keep Brandon out of prison for murdering an entire family." The line went completely quiet for almost 30 seconds. When Lisa finally spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. "What do you want from us?" "I want justice. You withdraw the divorce petition immediately. You sign an agreement giving me full custody of Tyler and Emma. Ryan returns every single stolen penny, and disappears from our lives permanently. And your mother resigns from the bench before I take all of this evidence to the FBI and the media. You're asking us to destroy our entire lives. You tried destroying mine first, Lisa. The difference is that everything I have on your family is completely true. Every word of it. Can you say the same about your custody petition? The second call came from Ryan about an hour later. Where Lisa had been scared, Ryan was absolutely furious. You sick fool! You've been spying on us like some kind of psychopath. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of sick freak you really are. Go ahead, Ryan. Please do. Make sure you tell them about the $340,000 you stole while you're at it. And don't forget to mention the offshore accounts and that one-way ticket to Monaco you've got booked. I'm sure Lisa will be really interested to hear about your exit strategy. The line went quiet immediately. That's right, Ryan. I know everything, every account, every transfer, every transaction. Every single lie you told Lisa about your feelings for her. You were planning to screw her over just as badly as you screwed me. You were going to take the money and run, leaving her to deal with the aftermath. You can't prove any of that. I can prove all of it. I've got bank records, flight confirmations, hotel receipts, wire transfer documentation. I have proof of every single crime you've committed over the past year. The only question now is whether you want to face charges here in Chicago, or if you'd rather spend the rest of your life running from federal investigators. Your choice. The third call was the one I'd been waiting for. Judge Helen Morgan herself. Her usually commanding, authoritative voice was reduced to something much smaller and fragile. What exactly do you want, Jake? I already told Lisa what I want. Justice for the Martinez family. Real consequences for your son and your family. And all of you out of my life, permanently. You're asking me to destroy my career, my reputation, everything I've worked for over the past 30 years. With all due respect, Judge Morgan, you destroyed those things yourself 12 years ago when you helped your son get away with murdering 4 innocent people. I'm just asking you to finally face the consequences of that decision. And if we don't agree to your terms, then Maria Martinez, Carlos Martinez, Isabella Martinez, and Sofia Martinez finally get the justice they deserved 12 years ago. And your entire family pays the full price for what you did to them and to our justice system. I hung up without waiting for her response. I'd said everything that needed to be said. What I hadn't anticipated was exactly how desperate and stupid Ryan would become once he realized he was completely trapped with no way out. The next morning, I discovered he'd made a move I hadn't expected. Lisa called me at 6:47 a.m., sobbing so hard she could barely speak. Jake, Ryan's gone. He cleaned out every single shared account we had and disappeared. He took everything, all the money I'd set aside for the new business venture. Everything. He left me with absolutely nothing. I checked my surveillance data immediately. Ryan's car was gone from his apartment parking garage. His phone was turned off. A quick call to my contact at American Airlines confirmed exactly what I suspected. Ryan Parker had booked an emergency flight to Paris, departing at 11:30 p.m. the previous night. The fool had panicked completely and run, leaving Lisa holding the bag for everything they'd planned together. Please, Jake, Lisa begged through her tears. I know I made terrible, terrible mistakes, but we can fix this. We can work through this. We can go back to the way things were before all of this happened. No, Lisa, you made your choice when you decided to destroy our family. Now you get to live with the consequences of that choice. I immediately called my FBI contact from my Army days, a guy named Tom Murphy, who worked financial crimes out of the Chicago field office. I provided him with detailed information about Ryan's offshore accounts, the theft from Lisa's business accounts, and his flight to France. Within 6 hours, Ryan's assets were frozen by federal court order. Within 12 hours, his name had been added to Interpol's international watch list. Within 18 hours, he was arrested at Charles de Gaulle Airport while trying to board a connecting flight to Switzerland, a country that has no extradition treaty with the United States. 2 weeks later, we had our final meeting in Lawrence Sterling's office. Lisa sat across from me at the conference table, and she looked completely different from the confident, beautiful woman I'd married 8 years earlier. Her expensive designer clothes were wrinkled and disheveled. Her usually perfect makeup was smeared from crying. She couldn't stop her hands from shaking as she stared down at the custody agreement and asset division papers spread across the table in front of her. Just sign them, Lisa. She looked at the documents like they were a death sentence. Jake, please think about Tyler and Emma. Think about what this will do to them. They need their mother. I am thinking about them. I'm thinking about them every second. I'm teaching them that actions have real consequences, that you can't build an entire life on lies and betrayal and expect it to last. With shaking hands, she signed every single document. The custody agreement giving me full parental rights, the asset division leaving her with only $50,000 in personal belongings, a formal written apology for what she called misunderstanding her husband's dedication to their family. The aftermath came swift and complete, like dominoes falling. Judge Helen Morgan announced her resignation from the federal bench just 3 days later, officially citing personal health issues requiring immediate attention. But everyone who mattered in Chicago's legal community knew the real reason. She was resigning to avoid federal prosecution for judicial corruption and obstruction of justice. The FBI reopened the Martinez case with all the new evidence I'd provided. Brandon Morgan was arrested at his father's house on charges of vehicular manslaughter, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. After 12 years of freedom and zero consequences, he was finally going to face real punishment for eliminating 4 innocent people. Senator David Morgan's political career ended in complete scandal when his connection to the cover-up became public knowledge. 30 years of carefully built influence and power destroyed in a matter of weeks. He announced that he wouldn't be seeking re-election and quietly retired from public life, desperately trying to avoid any further investigation into his activities. Ryan Parker was extradited from France 2 months later. He was charged with embezzlement, wire fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit theft. The federal prosecutors offered him a plea deal, 7 years in federal prison in exchange for returning all the stolen money and fully testifying against others involved in his various financial crimes. He took the deal immediately. Lisa lost absolutely everything that had ever mattered to her. Her reputation in Chicago's social circles was completely destroyed. Her real estate business collapsed when clients learned about the scandal. Her wealthy friends stopped returning her calls. She was forced to sell her BMW, all her jewelry, all her designer clothes, just to pay legal bills that exceeded $200,000. Eventually, she found work as a receptionist at a small real estate office in Schaumburg, making $32,000 per year. That's about what she used to spend on handbags in a single month. Me? I got my children back. Tyler and Emma live with me full-time now, and for the first time in years, our house actually feels like a real home instead of a battlefield. They're 8 years old now, old enough to understand that sometimes adults make very bad choices and families change in ways nobody expected. My business has never been stronger. Word spread quickly through Chicago's corporate community about how I'd handled the entire situation with Lisa and Ryan. Clients started actively seeking me out specifically because they knew I could protect them from absolutely any threat, whether external or internal. Mitchell Security Consulting now has 28 employees and annual revenue has grown to $4.2 million. But most importantly, I fundamentally changed how I spend my time. All the surveillance equipment is gone from our house. Those late-night work sessions have been replaced with bedtime stories and Saturday morning chocolate chip pancakes. I coach Tyler's Little League team, the Lincoln Park Lions, and I help Emma with her elaborate art projects that cover our kitchen table. I'm truly present in their lives in a way I wasn't before, because I finally understand exactly what I almost lost. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I was sitting in our backyard on a warm summer evening, watching Tyler and Emma run through the sprinklers, laughing so hard they could barely breathe. Their joy was completely pure and innocent. Totally unaware of the war I'd fought to preserve their childhood and protect their future. I realized something important in that moment. Lisa had actually been right about one thing. I had chosen work over my family for far too many years. But not anymore. Never again. Every decision I make now starts with one simple question. What's best for Tyler and Emma? People sometimes ask me if I regret how everything ended, if I wish I could have somehow saved my marriage instead of destroying it so completely. The answer is simple and honest. You can't save something that was built on lies from the very beginning. From day one, Lisa and Ryan thought they could manipulate and control me because they only saw what they wanted to see, a workaholic who was too focused on his business to notice their betrayal. They were completely wrong about that, and they were wrong about everything else, too. Their mistake cost them absolutely everything they thought they wanted. My patience, my training, and my careful preparation gave me back everything that actually matters in life. I didn't win through revenge or anger. I won through careful investigation, strategic thinking, and understanding that the truth is always more powerful than lies, no matter how well those lies are constructed. Lisa and Ryan destroyed themselves with their own greed, arrogance, and stupidity. I just made absolutely sure they couldn't take my children down with them. That's the fundamental difference between justice and revenge. Revenge is about making someone pay for hurting you. Justice is about protecting what matters most and ensuring that people face appropriate consequences for their actions. Now my kids laugh and play in our backyard while my business continues protecting good people from bad ones. Lisa answers phones at a desk in the suburbs, finally learning what real consequences actually look like. Ryan counts down the days in his federal prison cell. Sometimes the good guys really do win. Sometimes patience and careful preparation beat arrogance and greed. And sometimes the truth really is enough.